The author Suzanne Collins once said, "Knowing it and seeing it are two different things." This brief quote does not have any specific hidden message or meaning. It's rather straightforward. It simply means that we cannot be positive of everything we see, which is hard for many to grasp. Its relevance can be directly correlated with the dilemma concerning eyewitness testimony in wrongful conviction cases. Every year, as many as 80,000 eyewitness identifications are made in criminal investigations across the United States. When put in perspective, this is a significant number, and its sheer size is quite frightening. The reason for this fear is that eyewitness testimony is the leading cause in wrongful convictions, responsible for approximately 73% of all cases. After hearing these statistics, many people may question its use and existence within our criminal justice system, especially considering our scientific advancements within the last 30 years, such as the discovery of DNA testing. Many are led to believe, through TV shows like Law & Order and NCIS, that biological evidence is prevalent in criminal cases. But in truth, forensic evidence is actually quite rare. Only 5 to 10% of cases actually have biological evidence, often giving eyewitness testimony considerable influence during the outcome of a trial. In a study conducted by Dr. Elizabeth Loftus and Catherine Ketchum, one can see the true power of eyewitness testimony. In this study, a jury was presented with the evidence of a robbery-murder trial, with both the prosecution and defense arguing their positions. In the first experiment trial, only circumstantial evidence was presented, leading to only 18% of the jurors to vote guilty. In the second experiment trial, the same evidence was presented by the prosecution, with the addition of an eyewitness testimony, placing the defendant at the scene of the crime. After review of the evidence, 72% of the jury found the defendant guilty. One witness completely changed the landscape of this experiment trial. This study alone demonstrates the power of eyewitness testimony within a trial, supporting the necessity to change our reliance on this practice. In this study, they go on to say, to be mistaken about details is not the result of a bad memory, but the normal functioning of human memory. When we want to remember something, we don't simply pluck a whole memory intact from a memory store. The memory is actually constructed from stored and available bits of information. We unconsciously fill in the gaps in the information with inferences. When all the fragments are integrated into a whole that makes sense, they form what we call a memory. Considering that eyewitness testimonies force the witness to describe every detail of the alleged criminal, it is very plausible that one small alteration of their memory can change the perceived physical appearance of the suspect. Hair color, height, weight, and even details as little as scars can play a huge factor when determining who the suspect really is. The memory by itself is not the only issue concerning eyewitness testimony. One must also look into the role that police officers have in the process of identifying a criminal. In many cases, suggestive actions made by the police, intentionally or unintentionally, have influenced the eyewitness's choice. For example, Perry versus New Hampshire. One of the most common mistakes made by the police officer is not informing the eyewitness that the suspect may not be present in either the live lineup or photo identification. Many eyewitnesses will choose the person who most closely resembles the image of the suspect in their memory. Nancy Steble, professor of psychology at Augsburg College in Minneapolis, Minnesota, revealed through studies that the risk of misidentification decreased by simply informing a witness that the suspect may or may not be present during the identification process. Police officers are also responsible for selecting appropriate suspects that will be shown to the eyewitness. Race, ethnicity, height, weight, and hair color can be used to single out a suspect. For example, a 5'8" male suspect cannot be paired with 5 other men over 6 feet tall. In this lineup, the short male will stand out and would most likely be selected by the eyewitness. Many eyewitnesses, including myself, would feel the police intentionally singled this man out because he was guilty. In 1998, Guy Miles was convicted of armed robbery and was sentenced to 75 years to life due to eyewitness identification. Neither Trina Gomez nor Maximilian Patlin could provide the police with sufficient leads except a brief physical description after they had witnessed the crime. Unfortunately for Guy Miles, he was the only suspect who actually resembled the limited description made by the witnesses and was later identified by both. Several of the suspects provided in the lineup supposedly had no similarities to the general descriptions given by Gomez and Patlin. 6 people provided alibis for Guy Miles in court. However, he still managed to serve 13 years in prison before he was eventually proven innocent. The idea that eyewitness identification can help determine the outcome of a trial is truly unsettling to me. Although I believe it should remain as a piece of evidence during a trial, it should not be perceived as concrete evidence convicting a potentially innocent man or woman. In cases where there is only circumstantial evidence, eyewitness identifications must be secured with strict procedures, including videotaping for the jury, to ensure that the procedure was handled properly and lawfully. In addition, it must be noted as unreliable evidence during court. It may be difficult to grasp, but the risk of eyewitness identifications may not be worth the reward in numerous criminal cases, with over 70% of all wrongful convictions cases resulting from a misidentification. A change is needed in our criminal justice system.